and especially welcome. And someone was just trying to talk. Okay, I especially want to welcome those of you who are new to us. For those of you who are not experienced Zoom users, if you wish to see closed captions, there is a button to click at the bottom of your screen where it says Live Transcript. You can move the captions by putting your cursor on the caption box and moving it. If you keep the chat box open, you will avoid the orange chat icon popping up and covering the captions. If you prefer not to see the chat, you can drag and drop it to the side of your screen. Uh, Lauren has also put a link in the chat box for those of you who would prefer to read the captions on the streaming link. Um, Please also, all of you, click on mute so that we don't hear background noises such as sirens, dogs barking in your house or apartment, or my phone ringing. We are recording this. When the recording is ready, we will post a YouTube link on our website for others who've missed it tonight. We're very happy tonight to have Christina Duarte and Matt Gonsalves from InnoCaption, who will explain how to get free real-time captioning of your cell phone calls and voicemail using the InnoCaption app. They will discuss how the app works, why it is free to use, and how the app empowers users by providing them control over the captioning. I've heard great things about the app. I have not actually used it, and I'm very eager to learn more. Matt has served as the marketing director since InnoCaption launched its app in 2016. His key responsibilities include creating and directing marketing campaigns, developing the InnoCaption website, and designing marketing materials. He pursued a double major from George Mason University and currently resides with his wife, Christina, in the Northern Virginia area. Christina Duarte has served as the Director of Regulatory Affairs and in-house counsel for InnoCaption for 7 years. Christina's work spans the wide variety of regulatory, compliance, and advocacy issues that currently face providers of accessibility technologies. Christina received her JD from American University, Washington College of Law, and her BA from Hood College. She also serves on the board of directors for the Northern Virginia Resource Center for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Persons and volunteers through the Northern Virginia Pro Bono Law Center. When Christina and Matt are done, if you want to ask a question, please click on the Reactions tab at the bottom of your screen, then click on Raise Hand. You should then, I will call on people as I see hands raised. I will call them on an order, hopefully, and we'll ask you to unmute yourself so you can speak. In order to give as many people as possible a chance, we do request that you keep your question to 1 minute. When you reach a minute, you will be cut off. If you need to ask a follow-up question, you will be given an additional minute. So Christine and Matt, I think we're ready to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for that, John. By the way, you're the first person to actually pronounce my last name the right way. So it was just nice to hear that again. I don't think there's much left for me and Christina to say. John already touched on who we are and our positions. So I'm going to go ahead and share our brand new presentation that we put together for this case. If anybody has any questions, we understand that there's going to be a lot of new information thrown your way. I'm going to have the PowerPoint up in front of me, but Christina is going to be watching everybody. So if anyone has a question that needs to be answered right away, just let us know and we'll pause and slow things down for you guys. So with that being said, I am very excited to share our presentation. And can everybody see it okay? I'll take that as a yes. All right. So right off the bat, you guys are looking at the InnoCaption app. This is what the app looks like during a phone call. You get the transcript of what the other party is saying, and we'll get into how that happens. So first, we're going to start talking about who we are as a company. And then we'll move into what is InnoCaption. We're going to cover the key features that are available on the app. Then we're going to go over some of the questions that we hear now and again from our users. And then at the end, we're going to open the floor from some great Q&A discussion. Let me go back actually, because this is new. We do have the QR codes for the app right in front of you. So for those of you that want to download and install while we're presenting, all you have to do, if you have an iPhone, you aim your camera at the QR on the left. If you have an Android, you aim the camera on the QR on the right. And this presentation agenda will come up again later in the presentation. So if you miss it now, you'll see it again in just a little bit of time.
Hey, Matt, really
Yes.
quick, could you go back to that? Because I saw some people with their cameras out. And I want to take a minute to say, for those of you who took your cameras out, you made Matt's day. He's been very excited about these QR codes that we've added to stuff. And even before this, I was like, I don't think people are going to scan that. And then I saw people taking out their phones and I was like, wow, looks like I was wrong. By the way, that's the second time today I've admitted that Matt was right and I was wrong. With that being said, I think everybody's phones are down. So Matt, if you want to go ahead and proceed.
I'm very happy that we're recording this and I'll have proof that you said I'm right. So moving on, let's start off with our mission and what makes us special, in my opinion. At InnoCaption, our mission is to offer the best telecommunications accessibility solution to the deaf and hard of hearing community. Now, we have two CEOs. One of them is right in front of you. That's Joe Duarte, co-CEO and daily user of InnoCaption. Joe grew up with a profound hearing loss. I remember meeting Joe back in 2010 before InnoCaption was available. I used to have an Android and I had to switch to an iPhone because Joe relied on FaceTime to read lips. So calling him didn't work. It wasn't until he had InnoCaption that he said, you can have whatever phone you like. I'm just gonna read what you're saying to me. Now, we are a passionate, purpose-driven team. We're a small team, we're a small company. The reason why I say this is because if any of you have any feedback, give it to us. It's very easy for either myself or Christina to turn that over to our engineers. And that's how we see these latest updates becoming a reality. And we'll cover some of these updates that I'm talking about. Now that you know who we are, let's cover what we are. So what is InnoCaption? InnoCaption, simply put, is a mobile app that provides real-time captioning of phone calls for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. Now, if you're familiar with the captioning landline phones, then you're somewhat familiar with this technology. However, the way that we provide those captions is completely different from the landline solutions that most people have been used to. Now, on the right side of your screen, first off, you're looking at the InnoCaption app. Once you open it up, that's the keypad. That's what you use to make phone calls. If it looks similar to you, is because we try to make that as close as possible to making an actual phone call. So the process is very similar. When you download InnoCaption, the main key things are on your right. You can use your own cell phone number. Yes, you will be provided an InnoCaption number after you register, but you don't need to use that one if you don't want to. With desktop streaming, you can receive the same captions that you would on your cell phone, but on the computer instead. There's a caption mode switch. What does that mean? Well, we're the only company providing users with the option to switch between a stenographer, which is a real person typing like we have today providing the captions, or you can choose automatic speech recognition. The last one that I want to bring up, we get this question a lot, is how much does it cost? It's no cost to the user. We are certified by the FCC, which makes it free for the deaf and hard of hearing in the United States. So again, who is InnoCaption for? Like I said, anyone in the United States who needs captions to understand their phone calls due to a hearing loss is eligible to use our service. How much does it cost? Nothing to you, because our service is offered free of charge since we're certified by the FCC and funded by the Telecommunications Relay Services Fund.
And Matt, really quick, fun fact. Oh, and it's actually my slide after this anyways. It's actually illegal to charge for telecommunications relay services in the United States because the Americans with Disabilities Act said that individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing should be able to speak on the phone and have telecommunications access, just like their hearing peers. So whether it's caption telephones or video relay or IP relay, you can't be charged for that. Just a couple of important reminders. Now that is my turn. You cannot use InnoCaption for in-person conversations. So we have this here because, as I'm not going to get on my soapbox, everybody here knows that in addition to telecommunications accessibility, getting captions on the phone, there are a lot of times where it's nice to have captions in person. We cannot be used for those in-person conversations. So the golden rule that I tell people when they're trying to determine whether or not it's appropriate and legal to use InnoCaption is you can use InnoCaption to make any phone call that a hearing person would make. So as a hearing person, I would call a family member, I would call into a video conference, I would call into a conference call, even a webinar, a telehealth appointment. I would not call a plumber who is standing in my living room to say, hey, I need captions of what you're saying. Now, with that being said, there are solutions not related to InnoCaption that can be used for that. I'm always happy if people send me an email to information resource share. So just the important thing to remember here is InnoCaption is for phone calls only. Also, InnoCaption shouldn't be used in situations where CART services would normally be provided. For example, like this meeting, you guys contract with a CART provider. If, let's say this meeting was a professional meeting with an employer that always contracted with a CART provider, and then tomorrow, after learning about InnoCaption, the employer says, oh, we don't need to contract with that CART provider anymore, you can just use InnoCaption. That's not legal, and that can't happen. If anybody ever needs assistance with advocacy or education for an employer or organization, feel free to reach out to me. It's important where you have the ability to contract with a CART provider and the organization normally does that, or you have a right to it and you've disclosed your hearing loss, to consider doing that. InnoCaption services are wonderful. Our CART providers are incredibly talented, but there's a difference between the accessibility you get when you contract directly with a CART provider versus using an on-demand service like InnoCaption. With InnoCaption, our CART providers have no context. They have no prep. They just jump in the call and provide you the captions based on what they're hearing. A CART provider that's contracted with ahead of time, just like Lauren is in this meeting with us, she can see who the speakers are. If there's an issue with the captions, she can let us know, hey, there's an issue here, or connectivity is bad. And also, she has context before the meeting starts. I always like to give that little disclaimer, if you will, because there is a difference in the accessibility you receive. So never feel like just because somebody's telling you, oh, you can use InnoCaption, so you should, if that doesn't meet your accessibility needs, you should definitely push for them to still contract with a CART provider.
Great, thanks, Christina. So going back to the InnoCaption app, and the question that as the marketing director, I love to hear the most is, how do I get started with InnoCaption? And the answer is very simple. It's a 4-step process. The first one, if you have an iPhone, you go in the App Store, you search for InnoCaption. That's what it's going to look like. The first screen on your left, you download InnoCaption. On your phone, you're able to register for our service, or you can go on our website and register for a computer, whichever you prefer. You're going to create a password during this registration process, and that's the one you're going to use on the third step where it says activate. All you have to do is enter your cell phone, the password you created, you log in, and then you're ready to start making and receiving phone calls with real-time captions. The registration process is about 5 minutes, 10 minutes most. The activation process, that is the one and only time when we're going to ask you to enter your cell phone and your password in order to use the InnoCaption app. Once the app is activated, for you to make another call, all you have to do is open it up and you'll be sent straight to the keypad that you're seeing under number 4, place a call. Now I'm going to throw it back to Christina. She's going to talk about one of the things that makes us really special. Like I said in the beginning, we are the only company right now providing the captioning through different methods. We give users the choice between a live stenographer or automatic speech recognition. And Christina is going to let you guys know more about why and how we created this.
Sure, thanks, Matt. For those of you who have seen my presentations before, you've heard some of this. I feel self-conscious saying repeat people because sometimes I recycle jokes and I feel very much in the spotlight, like I need to come up with new jokes. But anyways, so when it comes to automatic speech recognition and live stenographers, as Matt said, we are the only IPCTS provider that uses live stenographers. You'll frequently hear other people in the industry say, no, we all use live people. But the technology that we use is a cart provider. It is just like Lauren on this call now, the individuals who sit in courtrooms too and use the steno devices. So they have prompts and spell things phonetically, which results in immediate captions with higher accuracy and higher quality. When we launched, as many of you know, we focused on cart provider stenographers captions. A few years ago, we got requests from the community to start looking into automatic speech recognition. The reason we ended up looking into it was because we were hearing from users that they liked automatic speech recognition for some of their calls. Some individuals felt it afforded them a level of privacy. While a cart provider is confidential and private, there was one user who explained to me he was in a long distance relationship and his strong preference, even though it was confidential, was to know there wasn't a third party on the line. We started looking into automatic speech recognition and our co-CEO, Joe, started using it for all of his calls. The call that he had, which sparked the idea for the caption switch, was actually, he was on the phone with an airline and he went through the automated system. The captions were very good because computers understand computers. And then after a significant hold, he was transferred to a human being whose voice pattern or accent didn't process well. So in that moment, the captions were not usable for his accessibility anymore. And he was in a position of either asking a hearing person for help, which was me, because I was in the office, or hanging up and trying again with a cart provider. He let our team know that the only way that this would really work on a practical level was if users were the ones in control. They could choose if they wanted to start with ASR or if they wanted to start with cart, and then mid-call be able to easily switch as accessibility needs changed. Automatic speech recognition is a very powerful technology. It gets better every day. There are big differences between a cart provider and automatic speech recognition that it's important for people to know because everybody's accessibility needs are different. Cart providers are able to provide nonverbal cues. So for example, laughing, you're on the phone, and for individuals who don't have high levels of speech discrimination, it can be helpful to have laughing or dog barking or poor connection, something that signifies to you what the captioner is hearing. Automatic speech recognition just provides what it hears, no nonverbal cues. It's very fast where the speakers have very clear voices. Like my voice processes very well. I grew up in a hard of hearing household and I was taught to enunciate. Matt's voice processes very well. Joe, who was raised in Portugal and born with a profound hearing loss, captions don't even know what to do with him. So areas that you may see automatic speech recognition struggling are like with children, because tiny human beings don't have regular speech patterns, with people who have accents that the speech engines haven't been trained on, where there's poor connectivity or people are not enunciating and mumbling their words. So it's just something to keep in mind, but together we feel, and we've been told by users, that empowering the user to have that choice is what works out the best for them, because at the end of the day, they're the ones in control. They can switch as needed and always make sure that they have the best captioning possible for each situation. Oh, sorry, Matt. I have everybody's video up and I just assumed it was not my slide. I assumed wrong. How to switch between caption modes. So as you see here, before you start a call on the left-hand side of the slide, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little button. And before a call, you can choose whether you want automatic speech recognition in English, automatic speech recognition in Spanish, cart priority, or only cart. Now, what cart priority is it means that your strong preference is to have a cart provider. But if there isn't one available because of a surge, you would prefer for the call to start with automatic speech recognition and then immediately switch over to cart as soon as one is available. It normally is very fast for that to happen. But we also acknowledge that for some users, ASR will never meet their accessibility needs. So cart only is also an option. We do encourage people to use cart priority, so their incoming calls are always going through and it's not redirected to voicemail. We don't get a lot of surges, but with the pandemic, call volumes have been relatively unpredictable. They're coming back to the predictable realm, but that is just something for people to keep in mind. And then during a call, on the right-hand side of the screen, if you look at the bottom where you see the little button circled that says ASR, that's how you switch in the middle of a call. So let's say I placed a call using automatic speech recognition. It's going well, but then I'm transferred to a speaker that the captions aren't working well anymore. I just click this button and click cart, and it's a seamless transition. So the other party has no idea. You don't lose captions, they run at the same time so for you as a user, you don't see any pause, it just switches over. Now, user privacy. So what about user privacy? As I mentioned in the beginning, we are federally regulated. As part of that, there are regulations like confidentiality of call content and privacy and keeping people's personal information secure. And we have to abide by those. We're not only regulated, but we get audited by the Federal Communications Commission. Our stenographers are all highly trained individuals. We contract with them directly. These are individuals that confidentiality is not a foreign concept. They contract in education and courtrooms for the federal government. Each of these individuals, prior to being able to contract with us, has to undergo a background check and compliance training. Additionally, our captioners only hear one side of the conversation. So the only exception to this is for conference calls, but if you're just calling a family member, a friend, they don't actually hear what you're saying. The transcript is what the other party is saying, so that is all that they hear. I don't know if you've ever tried to get context from half of a conversation. It's actually pretty difficult. Your call transcripts, while you can choose to save them on your device, they are not saved on our servers. We've had people reach out and say, oh, I accidentally deleted this, or I have this here, can you look? The system is not designed that way. We do not have access to those for you. And automatic speech recognition, our ASR engine because we pride ourselves on transparency, we're the only provider that has disclosed publicly that we use Google, and we use Google with our own proprietary tweaks. We actually pay more and have a different contract with Google to make sure that no data is logged from those calls. So while our users get the benefit of all the learning that Google does, their automatic speech recognition, none of it will ever happen on InnoCaption calls. The FCC actually put out notice and in the regulations that machine learning on caption calls is not legal.
Great, thank you, Christina. So that pretty much covers what is InnoCaption. And now we'll move into what are the key features that are available on the InnoCaption app. Now, before I go into the features that are available, now you heard me say it in the beginning, I'm going to say it again. If at any point you try using the InnoCaption app and you notice that there's something missing, you notice that there's something that we could be doing better, shoot us an email. We're very, very happy to send that over to our engineering team. As long as it's something feasible, we're happy to see it become a reality. So with that being said, let me cover some of the things that we have added to our app since we launched in 2016. The first and major one is the personal InnoCaption. That is not the biggest one. That is the first one that we released when we launched the app, is the personal InnoCaption phone number. Now, if you've been an InnoCaption user since our early days, you probably remember that when you register, you're given your InnoCaption number. That number's area code is going to match the same one from your cell phone number, but the ending is different. Now, what was happening in the beginning is that those people that downloaded InnoCaption and tried to use it, they were making outgoing calls, but the person on the other end wasn't recognizing that number. So most calls were going straight to voicemail. Another problem that happened is when they wanted to receive incoming calls, the person needed to call them on their InnoCaption number. But if they didn't have that number, they were calling them on their regular phone, so they weren't getting captions. So we changed that. Like I mentioned before, you can use your personal InnoCaption phone number if you want to. We still have users that prefer to keep things separate. But with some of the latest features that we've added, you no longer have to rely on that. You can use your original cell phone number to make and receive phone calls. Another feature that I love talking about is the ability to view the transcripts. If you miss anything during that conversation, you can go back after the call. You go to your recent calls. You see all of the calls that you've made in the past. You can click on any call there, and it will provide you with the transcript of that call. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you can save that transcript on your phone indefinitely, or you can email it to yourself as well. One thing that InnoCaption users are not able to do is ask us, InnoCaption people, to retrieve a lost transcript. Like Christina mentioned, we don't save anything. Only our users have access to their transcript. That's why we say if there's something important in there, make sure that you save it, because once it's gone, unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do to help get that back. Now, the feature on the bottom, caller ID setting, that is for when you make an outgoing call, you can select which number shows up on the person's caller ID. So you have three options. You can select your InnoCaption number, the one that's given to you. You can select your cell phone number, just like making a regular call. The third option is having your number blocked from showing on the person's caller ID as well. So again, we want to give our users the same options that a hearing person would have when they pick up their phones and make an outgoing call. On the left, you see caption voicemail. So if someone calls you on your InnoCaption number, if someone calls you on your InnoCaption app and leaves you a message, you can then go back and get that visual voicemail. So it will be there as a text. Anytime you want to go back and check it, it will be there for you. So those are the 4 app features that we had starting from 2016. The ones that I'm about to show, they started becoming a reality more around 2020, right before the pandemic hit. This came about after a lot of user feedback that we received. The first one is the multi-language support. As of now, we are able to provide ASR captions in Spanish. We're also looking to add many, many, many more languages this year. So if you have a particular language that you'd like to see added to our ASR, let us know. We'll make sure that that's one of the languages that our engineers are looking into currently.
And Matt, just really quick, if you guys have a language you'd like to request, send us an email. The reason right now we only have Spanish, we're looking into a couple other languages, is because we learned pretty quickly that not all automatic speech recognition is created equal. So for some languages, it's pretty good and getting better. And then you see other languages and talk to native speakers and they're like, no, this is terrible. So it's just a fun fact, something I was surprised to learn. I guess I just assumed if in English it's doing well, then it would be similar across other languages. But still, if there's a language you would like to see, let us know. We'll look into it. And if it is one of those languages that is still really behind, we'll keep you in the loop and let you know.
Yes, great point. We will. The next feature, and we're going to cover this one more in depth in a few slides. It's called Desk View. It is what allows InnoCaption users to use their computers to get the same captions that they would on the cell phone. In a couple of years ago, when we first launched this, what you would have to make a call from your cell phone and then connect to your computer to get the same captions. You don't have to do that anymore. You can log in to Desk View on our website and make an outgoing call directly from your computer. So you don't need to use the cell phone if you don't want to. Like I said, we're going to cover this more in a little bit. On the bottom right, you have the one that Christina was just talking about, the in-call caption mode switch. And that's just the ability to switch between ASR and CART, either before or during a call. The last one on the bottom left, this is something that we can all use today. It's a spam call filter. We know that whether you have a hearing loss, you're getting spam calls all day, every day. So we do have a spam call filter that you can either enable or disable on your InnoCaption app. Now, this is, as of 2 weeks ago, this was our major update. It hasn't been out very long, but as of today, we have an even bigger one that we're going to show after this. But I'm going to throw it back to Christina so she can talk to you guys a little bit more about Desk View and again, why we created it and how we created it.
Thanks, Matt. So Desk View was created because since the beginning, we were having users ask us, how can I get captions on my laptop or desktop computer? It took us a while to create this because since we are a federally funded app, on the phone is a lot easier to make sure you're restricting access to eligible users than on the computer. But we finally figured it out and we were able to launch. As Matt said, previously, you were only able to mirror your captions. Now, that is still an option for people who that is your preference. But recently, we updated Desk View to let users make outgoing calls. Why this is awesome is because for those of you who use a cell phone, cellular technology can be super shaky. Like even connected to Wi-Fi, depending on where you are, on the computer, you can have a hardwired connection. So for these conference calls and webinars that you're on your computer anyway, you can make the outgoing call to dial in and eliminate the cellular step. So that is huge. And this update also allows you to have control from your desktop of your audio. So you're able to select, like if you're using you have Bluetooth to your hearing aids, or for me, the AirPods. Little tip, you have just like on Zoom, where you have a microphone and a speaker, you want those two to match so you don't create an echo. We also gave users the ability to create a separate contacts list that is actually stored with your InnoCaption account. So while your contacts list on your phone is local, we heard from users who they use Desk View in the computer for work, and they wanted the ability to have contacts they frequently use in there, a separate favorites list. You're able to do that too. We also, you have the ability to call 911 from Desk View. And when you log in, it asks you to put in your possible emergency addresses. I know it, for me at least, when I log into a website and it's asking me for that stuff, sometimes I'm like, whatever, I just want this to be over, and I don't type in the real information. I would urge you, we never access your location or use that unless there's actually an emergency. So to be safe, the first time you're going in there, make sure you put in your work address, your home address, anywhere you think you could be using it. And then when you log on in the future, you just click when you log in where you're using it from in case you are calling 911 from there. The last thing I'll say about this is it is very exciting in the beginning of the pandemic, and I've probably shared this with a couple of you, but with the mirroring feature, before the mirroring feature, people were really struggling being on their cell phones, reading captions and seeing the video on the screen. I still to this day remember one of our users was saying, oh, I have whiplash because I'm going back and forth. I'm trying to look at the people and look at the captions. And this solution eliminates that. So it's a very exciting update, and we're very pleased for people to start using it and testing it out.
Now, we have a great tutorial video on our YouTube channel. It's about 6 minutes long. It's basically Christina going over how to get started with Desk View. We also have a step-by-step guide in our help center. If you go there and you search Desk View, you see how to get started. Or you can email us if you have any questions and want to learn more about Desk View. Moving on, our next slide is the major announcement that we have. If you subscribe to our newsletter, you have read about this before. We do have a 2-minute video in this slide. I have my fingers crossed, hoping that it will play. If it doesn't play, I will share. I'll send it by email and you guys can share it. Or you can go on our YouTube channel where it's also uploaded. Christina, can you let me know if the sound is playing? Oh, awesome.
I'm super excited about our text-to-speech feature that we have now. For a long time, me and many of my friends were hearing loss, and those who speak 2 languages like I do, I'm bilingual. It's very difficult to make phone calls to banking systems and to airlines because we have to deal with this automated system. And that my answers cannot get through the system. So me and my friends who are hearing loss, we all would like the ability to be able to type the words we want to say, send it out directly to the system and get through that first barrier in communication. And eventually got to a live person. And that's the goal. We often hit zero and get so frustrated, and so hopefully this feature will help us break another barrier.
Okay, so that is our co-CEO, Joe. And as he said, the reason that we developed this was, I mean, I remember growing up and way back when, my parents, when they got, my mom's voice processes really well, my dad's does not. So I remember growing up and they used to be able to just hit 0 and they would get to a representative. These machines have gotten super smart now. They don't let anybody hit 0. So there's this struggle of representative or yes. And it's, oh, I don't understand you. Can you repeat? Can you say that again so I can get you to the right place? And some of these machines, after a while, just disconnect you instead of passing you to a representative. So this text-to-speech feature is not like IP relay. InnoCaption is certified to provide accessibility to the individuals who fall into the segment of the community who use their own voices for phone calls but need captions to understand them. In our user base, there are just so many users who, because of unique speech patterns, really struggle with these machines. So we lobbied and worked to be able to create a feature like this, where it's very short, limited characters, but it's enough to give an address or to say representative, United Mileage Plus, or whatever it is you're trying to say. Now, this is a feature that you turn in to opt into, turn on, sorry, I was reading the text and I saw somebody say in and then I said in instead of on. This is a feature that you opt into. So if it's something you feel could be beneficial for your accessibility needs and your phone calls, you open the InnoCaption app, and under the InnoCaption settings, under InnoCaption features, it says text to speech. And you're able to enable it and choose the voice that you would like to send across. We just launched this. So we literally announced it in our newsletter yesterday. Oh my goodness, yesterday. So we will be putting out tutorials, and our support team is always happy to help. Matt and I are always happy to help. But this is just something else that we're very excited to be able to share with our users, because it came from users and experiences within the community.
Great, thank you, Christina. I'm so happy that the video played. Again, everything has been working wonderfully so far. All right, so
you're gonna jinx us.
I know. Well, we're almost at the end now. We've covered the who we are, what we are, the key features, and now it's time for some of those questions that we hear time and time again from our users. And right off the bat, we're going to show you what these questions are. And then Christina's going to go into all of them. Being our Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs, she's the one that's answering these questions in the first place. So the number one question that we get, that we just kind of covered it, is, can I use my existing cell phone number? We also get asked a lot, what if there's an emergency? Can I make a 911 call? Well, what about Zoom meetings? Now with the pandemic and everybody being forced to work remotely, can I use InnoCaption for Zoom meetings? What about multiple devices? Can I only use it on the cell phone? I know you guys mentioned computers, but what else? What else? Where else can I use InnoCaption? And the last two, can I use a landline telephone with the InnoCaption app? And what happens if I need to call healthcare providers? So with that being said, Christina, take it away.
Yes, thank you. So before I get started on this, and this goes along with this a little, Michael asked a great question in the chat. So he said, it seems the focus is a call that you initiate, but my problem is when others call me, generally business calls from people who don't know me. Did I miss something? No, you didn't, but this is a new presentation we just put together, and I love that you asked that question, because we'll make sure that we make it super clear for future presentations. The call forwarding feature. So InnoCaption is meant to operate as a phone within your phone. You can make calls and you can receive calls. If these individuals calling you have your native phone number or your regular cell phone number, you can install the InnoCaption app and set up call forwarding. So you're essentially making it so anytime somebody calls your regular cell phone number, it automatically goes to your InnoCaption number. And for you, once you set it up one time, the end result is any call you answer is captioned. We used to tell people that they only should use this feature if they needed captions on all of their calls, but that's no longer the case, because we now, within the call where I showed you guys that you can switch between CART or automatic speech recognition, you can also turn the captions off. When you turn captions off, we stop billing the federal fund and it just becomes a normal phone call. Now, you only want to turn captions off if you're positive you don't need them, because once you click off, the only way to get them back is to reconnect the call again. The reason we developed this feature is because we would hear from users who would say, well, I need captions on most of my calls, but I feel bad sending all of my calls to InnoCaption if, you know, my mom or my sister, I know their speech. I don't need the captions and it seems wasteful. So this caption off button is for those particular instances. I would never recommend, if you're calling customer service, to turn captions off, because you get one good speaker. They always pass you on and you never know what you're going to get later down the line. But with that being said, to answer your question very directly, it does work for incoming calls as well. There is very easy setup, and we'll give our information after this. We're happy to send the instructions and articles. So that is actually, it led in perfectly, because that is how you use your existing number. Together with that call forwarding, you also on your InnoCaption app are able to go into the features and set, when you are choosing, when you call out, what people see on their phones. So you can choose your InnoCaption number, which is a separate number we assign you, your native number, so your regular cell phone number, or to block your number, which means no number is shown. It was just called to my attention, nobody can actually see my screen. The intention was there. I'm happy to send you guys after the fact, if you would like, the screenshot of that. The blocked number is actually a very good example of why you should email us or call us if you think you have an idea that would meet your accessibility needs that we don't have within the app. We actually developed the call blocking feature as one of the first things we did, because we heard from deaf and hard of hearing doctors saying, my hearing colleagues have the ability to call people and easily block their number from their cell phones. I can't call patients from my cell phone without them getting my number. So we implemented that. And last one, we heard from one user who's dyslexic and was having trouble reading her captions. So now the app also has a dyslexic font that you can turn on. And Matt, you can go to the next question. I just share this because I really hope if you guys have ideas, you'll reach out to us. Can I make 911 calls? Yes. And for those of you who have seen this presentation before or have made a 911 call on InnoCaption system, as of January 6th, we have a new system. Previously, when you called 911, you would go to an emergency relay center and then connect to your local 911 center. Now, when you call 911, you're automatically routed to your local 911 center, cutting out a step and making that connection even faster. When we connect you to 911, your calls are always prioritized. What that means is, first of all, we always send your call through with a CART provider. Even if you have ASR on there, the default for 911 only is CART. Now, once you connect to 911, you can proactively click to switch to ASR, and you can do that, but it will be a CART provider from the beginning. Once you connect to 911, they are talking to you as if they are talking to any other person. When we had the third party service, the emergency center, and they pass the call, they would say, you are now talking to a user who is deaf or hard of hearing. Because there's no handoff, that won't be the case anymore. I recently had the opportunity to meet with the local 911 center and talk over some tips for the deaf and hard of hearing. One of the two things they said in the beginning, even though we send through the coordinates of where your cell phone says you're located, always provide them with your location immediately, your apartment number, all of that. And second, if you feel comfortable, it's a good idea to disclose to the 911 operator that you're deaf or hard of hearing, because then they, hopefully, if they have been trained, like this 911 center was telling me, they will pass that information along to emergency personnel. So whether they're approaching you or whatever the case may be, they're aware that the individual, that you have hearing loss. Oh, Matt, I had the camera up. I forgot about that user review. Can you go back
It's
for 1
okay.
second?
I think Zoom meeting is more important right now.
Okay, awesome. So can I use InnoCaption for Zoom meetings? Yes, you can. You're able to call in to when you log into Zoom and you get that pop-up. Do you want to use computer audio or phone audio? You click phone audio, and then from Desk View or your InnoCaption app, you can call into that meeting to get captions. Now, with that being said, just a reminder, I'm not going to go into it all over again, but if they will provide you with a CART provider and you can contract directly, that will provide you higher levels of accessibility. With that being said, there are many people that I know that have not disclosed their hearing loss to employers, or they feel like InnoCaption meets their accessibility needs in those situations. You are more than welcome to use it. I don't want it to come across as me discouraging you, just more of this, you can use it, but you don't have to if you don't feel it meets your accessibility needs. Can I use my account with multiple devices? Yes. So your InnoCaption account is associated with your native phone number. So where I have this, my cell phone, I can log in on a tablet with the same login or on Desk View with the same login. Now, if I have two cell phones, let's say I have one for work and one for personal, I also have the option of creating a separate account. So you are allowed to have more than one InnoCaption account for work, personal, whatever the case may be, just like a hearing person is allowed to have multiple devices, but you don't need to have them. With your one login and cell phone number, you can access InnoCaption from your smartphone, your tablet, and your computer. Can I use a landline telephone? Give me 1 second. This is a lot in a row, Matt.
I mean, I can take over if you want me to.
No, it's okay. Thank you for the offer though. So can I use a landline telephone? Yes, we have this feature. We've had it from the very beginning. And before I go into this, I do want to say, I recognize that we are throwing a lot at you. These are a lot of different features. And I think when you see them back to back, it can appear very overwhelming. I know I work for a tech company, but if I'm being honest, I'm not super tech savvy. The reason I'm bringing this up is because InnoCaption is very easy to use. We have step-by-step instructions, and if you don't need to for your accessibility needs, you don't need to use all these features. The reason we go into each of them on the call is in hopes that if you see one that you're like, oh, I need that, people know that it's there. So if it's something you need, that's awesome. If it's something that you don't need, then I don't want anybody to feel like they shouldn't give the app a try because there's so many features. Now, can I use a landline telephone? This is a feature we've had since the beginning, and it's developed to let our users choose where they hear their audio. So for our users who have a landline device at home, that works really well with their hearing aids, or they just prefer, while they're reading the captions on outgoing calls, to be holding the handset and talking directly into the handset. This feature allows you to do that. You set it up before an outgoing call. You only have to set it up once. And then every time you make an outbound call, it'll ask you, what number would you like to hear the call audio from? You click your landline and your landline phone will ring. You answer it and then the call goes through, still on the InnoCaption app. It's not using your landline number. It's just giving you the audio on that landline handset.
I think this is the last one, Christina.
Calling healthcare providers. There is a lot, especially during the pandemic, there has been a lot of uncertainty from the part of healthcare providers as to whether or not their patients can call them using relay services and whether that's a violation of HIPAA. This order, the FCC worked with the Department of Health and Human Services years ago, way before the pandemic, to put out this public notice which clarifies that the use of telecommunications relay services, when one party to the call, whether it's the doctor or the patient, is deaf or hard of hearing, does not violate the privacy rule of HIPAA. And that is the rule that when you have a doctor say, oh, I don't think I can communicate that way with you, that's the rule they're referring to. It's the privacy rule. But your privacy rights belong to you. And luckily, the FCC issued this. I have, generally speaking, when I've had healthcare providers contact me for questions with this, just providing them the document that we have linked here below seems to help and alleviate any concerns that they have about that.
All right, I think you want to take a break?
No, just really quick.
Okay.
So David asked, when I call, I get the message above the captions, the maximum duration for demo calls is 3 minutes. David, somehow I think you signed up for a demo account. If demo accounts are for hearing individuals that are using the app to show hard of hearing individuals who may benefit. So that is where you see that at the top. So that is what the demo call is. I'm happy to connect with you. I'll private message you in the chat to figure out like why you may be seeing that. But a user account, when you fill the registration out that is not on the demo page, you won't see that message.
Okay, so while Christina takes a breath and relax for a little bit, I'll wrap things up for us. We are getting to the end of our presentation. Again, thank you all so much for being here. We're about to open it up for some Q&A, but before we get there, we just want to let you guys know once again that if you need assistance at any point before you download InnoCaption, while you're trying to register, when you go to make your first call and you have an issue, or if someone is trying to call you on your InnoCaption and they're telling you they can't get through, don't give up. 99% of the issues that we see from our users, it's a simple connectivity issue that we can let them know how to fix as long as we know there's a problem in the first place. And I say that to remind you that if anything goes wrong, our email is support@innocaption.com and our support team will respond to you within 24 hours. Now, I say that we have an amazing support team. Christina says the same thing. I urge you guys to go on the Play Store, the App Store, and look at some of the recent reviews that we've gotten from our users. And a majority of them are saying great things about our customer support team. Again, it's a small team. It's an in-house team. Everybody that's doing support for InnoCaption really cares about the deaf and hard of hearing community. We're always creating step-by-step guides to cover every single feature that we have, but sometimes we miss something. So if you don't want to talk to our support team, if you want to look for the answers yourself, you can go on our website. You go to InnoCaption.com. One of the tabs at the top will say Help Center. You click on there and you go to our Help Center, which is basically like Google. You can type any issue that you're having, connection, desk view, text to speech, and you get articles that our team created with, again, step-by-step instructions on how to use every single feature. Now, if there's something missing, let us know, and we will create it and add it to our help center immediately. If you want to stay in touch with us, of course, we're on every social media platform out there. The biggest one and the one that we have the most fun talking to our users is Facebook. So if you go to facebook.com/InnoCaption, that's really where we're updating users daily, and we send out a few fun things as well. You can also check us out on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're getting our YouTube page up and running. We're creating, I've mentioned that we have step-by-step instructions written form. We're now starting to create tutorial videos as well to show how to use every single feature. And we're starting to add those in our YouTube channel, so you can go there and get information as well. The other emails that you see on your screen, marketing@InnoCaption.com, that goes to me. So if you need brochures, if you want to set up a webinar, any questions about InnoCaption, you can send to marketing@InnoCaption.com. If you have any regulatory questions, anything that's FCC related, send it to regulatory@InnoCaption.com, and that will go to Christina. Now,
Hey.
Yeah, go ahead.
Matt, really quick, I do want to address a couple things from the chat. And I know you were about to say we can start the Q&A session, but before people started sending more questions in the chat or raising hands, I wanted to make sure we addressed the ones that were in here.
Okay.
So first of all, I want to echo what people are saying. Thank you, Lauren. Your captioning, as always, is pristine. You do such a wonderful job, and we really appreciate you. We had a question about whether you can use InnoCaption on FaceTime. And the answer is no, not right now. Because FaceTime is an Apple product, they are kind of closed off to outside development. We're always looking for opportunities to be able to do that. It would also involve some lobbying with the FCC, who is actually currently looking into what video conferencing is and redefining what a phone call is. I am having the opportunity to serve on the Disability Advisory Council in a working group about that. I'm hoping that some good will come out of that. It is a great group. But at this time, we are not able to caption FaceTime phone calls. But again, hopefully in the future that will change. Let me see. So that was the FaceTime. I'm scrolling. Al asked if it's possible to have multiple captioning apps on the same phone with no call forwarding. Yes, it is. As far as InnoCaption is concerned, we don't make ourselves a default dialer or interfere with anybody else's app. With that being said, don't think it's weird if you contact our support team and they ask if you've recently downloaded any other captioning apps. From time to time, other apps will do updates that interfere with, and we don't know why, but interfere with InnoCaption. We do not interfere with other apps. I know lots of consumers who have downloaded multiple apps and don't have issues. I just like to preface that with, don't be surprised if you do have an issue and we ask you to uninstall. It's not anti-competitive, it's troubleshooting to try to get down to the issue, because a very small number of users have had issues. So yes, you can have multiple captioning apps on the same phone. I really appreciate all the kind words that you guys are saying about the presentation through the chat. That's very kind of you. We always enjoy presenting. Matt, do we have any other slides before we start asking some of the raised hands? No, I think that's it. Okay, so if you want to stop sharing so we can all get a better look at one another.
Thank you. I would just like to echo the comments in the chat. I thought it was a terrific presentation. I know that I learned a lot. And what I found a couple of times was I had questions that I thought of, and the next minute you answered them. The other thing that I'm always very happy to see is that almost everybody who signed at the beginning stayed the entire time, which is, I think, a tribute to you guys. So we will have questions now. Using your raise hand function, it seems like Susan Immergut is number one on the docket, and you have a minute to ask your question. So Susan, please unmute.
Hi, thank you so much. I love InnoCaption. I use it all the time. I was wondering, because there's another captioning telephone device that records the caller's script as well as the person being called. Will you be doing that too at some point?
That is a great question, Susan. We've received that feedback from many members of the community, and the answer is maybe. We're looking into it. And I'm going to try really hard not to nerd out legally here. But right now, the reason that we do not do it is, first of all, the captioners for privacy only hear one half of the conversation, but also it means that a full transcript isn't generated. There are laws in every state that require, if you're recording a conversation, for the individual to disclose that they're doing that. They're different in every single state. As far as my research can show, having one side of the conversation, because that isn't admissible in court, is unlikely going to be found to be a recording, which does not force disclosure. Where you have both sides, the case law is unclear, and our concern is the possibility of creating a situation where a court admits a transcript. And once that happens, businesses will have the ability to say that due to liability, they won't take TRS calls. So in order for us to do that, there's some advocacy and lobbying I have to do at the commission first, and some more legal research to make sure that we don't launch a feature that could inadvertently end up hurting the community that we serve. Does that kind of make sense, what our thought process is and why we're approaching that very carefully?
Thank you. Catherine?
Yes, thank you. I learned a huge amount in this presentation, and I've been on InnoCaption since you started, as Christina knows, because I'm constantly asking her questions. One of the things that I find, and that I think maybe you could warn users about, is that when I make an outgoing call, there are 3 steps I have to take. And if my eyes stray away, I miss one step or the second step, and then the call doesn't go through. So maybe if you could explain that to people.
Sure.
Or am I doing something wrong?
No. So actually, I'm wondering, are you using cellular calling mode?
I know, I think I'm using Wi-Fi mode.
Okay. So when you place your call, does it go to your regular dialer and then you click back to go to InnoCaption?
When I make a call, I dial my number, I click the little green phone, and then I have to click to switch to another number to dial. And then this is where I always get caught. There's a very brief second when there's a drop down that says, do you want captions? And then if I have not been paying attention, I lose the call.
So I have good news for you. You don't have to go through those steps. We have something called cellular calling mode. And what that is, you have it enabled, and I can help after this, I can walk you through how to disable it. It's for people who on certain long calls feel like they're getting bad audio quality or having disconnection issues. It routes the call a different way, actually through your native number, which is why there are 3 steps. If you disable it, it'll actually go back to just you hit call and you don't have any of those steps.
No, I think it's because I have Verizon service, and I don't have Verizon cell phone service where I am. So I have to go through Wi-Fi, but you have just explained it. I understand now why that problem is happening.
Catherine, later on, after this, I would love to test out a couple things with you to see if that's necessary for you to be on. So shoot me an email and we'll work something out.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Jerry?
Yes, thank you. I have two questions. I'll ask them both quickly and then listen. I've been a very happy InnoCaption user for a long time. Thank you both so much. I, until tonight, was not aware that I could choose CART over ASR. I've seen an indication on my phone that my captioning is one or the other, but I don't know how to do that. And perhaps it's because my software is an older version, though it says under app version up to date. My other quick question is, if I choose to utilize the computer or the laptop view for the captions, will I still be able to hear Bluetooth streaming from my phone to my hearing devices?
That's a great question, Jerry. So for the first one, while other people are answering, I'm going to double check in the system to see if you're on an updated version or an old version of InnoCaption. For the second question, yes, if you are on the desktop and you're mirroring your captions, you can keep your streaming connected to your phone. Another option is if the way your streamers are connected is via Bluetooth. If your computer has Bluetooth, kind of like my AirPods connect to my phone and my AirPods can connect to the computer, you can also do it that way. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can shoot support an email or even us, and we can coordinate with support to test it out with you so you get comfortable in switching over and seeing if you do need to use the mirroring or if maybe you could actually stream to your computer.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Cookie, welcome.
Yes, hi, everyone. I'm sorry, I have curls in my hair.
You look beautiful.
Well, thank you so much. You guys have been wonderful, and I've been using InnoCaptions for quite some time since the Center for Hearing and Communications recommended them. But I've noticed recently that my calls, I'll receive a call or make a call, and the captions will start, and then they'll just seem to stop. And as I keep talking and they keep talking, they'll just drop. So I just want to make sure I understand. Did you say that I could go and then switch to a live caption or something and that would help them come up? I just want to make sure I heard that right.
So Cookie, that's a great question. Yes, you can, but also when captions stop in the middle of a call, that actually indicates that you may be having a connectivity issue. Actually, our co-CEO resets the Wi-Fi router at the office, his office and his house once a week, because the way Wi-Fi works generally, sometimes the cache, the data gets all clogged up. And on InnoCaption, you're sending both captions and voice. So by resetting your router once a week, you can actually proactively address some of those connection issues. With that being said, it could be something else causing the connection issues. I would recommend sending an email either to us.
It's okay. I'll send our support team a message after we're done here, Cookie, and they'll send you an email within 24 hours so they can work with you to get more information. I believe it's a connectivity issue. We'll look into it and we'll work with you to make sure that that's not happening.
If you,
Thank you.
Cookie, if you don't hear from us within 24 hours, let us know. The only reason I'm encouraging people to reach out is sometimes people register with different emails and different stuff. And then when we look them up after the presentations, it's like, wait, we can't find their account in the system. So if we're saying we're going to email you within 24 hours, we will, as long as we find your account. If we don't, please reach out to us, because that means we could not find the account contact.
That's a good point.
Thank you. Al Chen? Al? Al, do you have your hand up? Okay.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. That was very helpful. I actually have a technical question. I have two captioning apps on my phone. The first one, the captioning phone number, the personal phone number from the captioning company. And the second one has a different captioning phone number from a different captioning company, but their technologies are different. In the first one, the voice and the captioning are sent as a data stream. So when someone calls that first phone number, the banner of that captioning company comes. So I know it's coming through that particular phone number. In the second captioning app, the voice is sent through telephony and the captioning is sent through data. So when someone calls that second captioning phone number, my cell phone actually rings as if someone would call my own cell phone number, because the telephony has to be connected to my cell phone number. So therefore, I can't tell that someone's calling the second captioning phone number. So with that long-winded explanation, my technical question to you actually is, for InnoCaption, is the voice and the data both sent through the data stream, or is the voice sent through telephony and the data sent through, the captioning sent through data, such that if somebody calls that number, I won't know that someone is calling that InnoCaption number. That makes sense?
No, it makes perfect
It does,
sense,
yeah.
actually. So we send everything data, and even if you do call forwarding and have all of your calls forwarded, you will be able to see when the call is coming in, it says InnoCaption. So it will distinguish for you that it is a caption call coming in, even in the event it is being forwarded, because we do send both the voice and the captions over the data line.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth?
I'm glad you guys understand all of this. You're over my head, you look. I just joined a new book club, and they tell me that they meet for 2 hours. Can I use your service?
Yes, Ruth, you can. It is illegal to limit the length of relay calls. So you are able to have calls for as long as you want. With that being said, because with Wi-Fi and cellular technology, if your computer is hardwired, I highly recommend using Desk View for that call because of the hardwired connection and the fact that you won't have to worry about stuff on long calls that you may have to worry about with the cellular service.
You
Thank you.
also won't have to hold on to the phone for 2 hours, Ruth. So to Christina's point, if it's a long call, Desk View today is the way to go.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? We're about at the end of our time. So I think we'll wrap it up here. And again, many thanks to Matt and Christina for a wonderful presentation. Thank you also to David Landsberger for being our Zoom host, and of course to our captioner, Lauren Schechter, who makes our lives so much better. We continue to see many new faces tonight. To learn more about HLAA, to join, or to donate to help us continue our activities, please go to the chapter website, hearinglossnyc.org. At our next meeting on March 1st at 6 o'clock, we will have an opportunity to hear several prominent audiologists talk about what's new in hearing aids and assisted listening devices. We are very fortunate to be able to hear from Michael Bergen, who is director of the Brooklyn College Speech Language Hearing Center, from William Shapiro, the clinical associate professor in the Department of Otolaryngology at NYU Grossman School of Medicine, and from Ellen Lafargue, who is the director of the Shelley and Stephen Einhorn Audiology and Communication Centers and the Barrelson Hearing Technology Center at the Center for Hearing and Communication. So please mark your calendars for that on March 1st. And I look forward to seeing many of you then. And thank you for being here tonight. And again, many thanks to our presenters. It was a great evening. So good night, all.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys so very much. Have a great night.